Welcome back, guys. My name's Adam. So today we got something a little different. We are talking about a Porsche Panamera Turbo. Now, why are we talking about a Panamera Turbo? Because you can get this car for 45% of its original value. We're talking about a $168,000 car you can pick up in the mid-70s with 40,000 miles, zero issues. Let's check out and see if this is the right used car deal for you. We're in a 2017 Panamera Turbo. We're going to go ahead and do a quick launch for you so you can see how insane this 4,600 pound car can actually launch. It is really something. So you put your foot on the brake, put your foot down. I mean, I don't know how much performance you actually need in a sedan, but that is absolutely insane what this car can do. And there you go. So I hope you guys enjoy the content. I think this is one of the absolute best used car values on the market, and we hope you enjoy this one as always. Check it out. Woo! That's something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great. I've never done that. Not in any car.
Really? Oh yeah, these things have incredible launch control. And
so
then you can just do that all day long.
So in this week's review, we are talking about the 971 generation Porsche Panamera Turbo. Now, why am I talking about this car, right? This isn't exactly the 911 or the Cayman or anything like that, which we've of course featured many times on this channel. I'm talking about this car because I think these are one of the best used car values right now in the game. This was a $168,000 MSRP car that you can now pick up in the $70,000 range. It's reliable. It's got a 550 horsepower 4-liter twin turbo V8. It does 0 to 60 in the low 3-second range. It looks incredible. This is the second generation with the amazing wing. I just think this is an incredible value, so we're spotlighting it today on the YouTube channel. One of the #1 things you're going to love about this particular car, being the Turbo, is it has a 4.0 liter, so 4-liter V8 twin turbo power plant. Now, Porsche says, quote unquote, they make 550 horsepower and 568 foot-pounds of torque, but I got a feeling it's a little underrated. When you drive this thing, even though it's 4,600 pounds, it smokes, guys. I'm talking 0 to 60 in the low 3-second range. Car and Driver actually got this thing to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So they say 3.5, but in the end of the day, this is so much performance. I mean, it's mind-blowing that it can do it. And the reason why is because it's all-wheel drive. So it really puts the power down. And it also has launch control, which allows you to dump it at 5,000 RPM. So you really can have this car just zip, and it surprises people. But this is an incredible value considering that for $70,000, you get a 4-liter twin-turbo V8, right? And it also gets pretty good fuel economy. You can average about 20 miles per gallon with this thing. You can get 25 on the highway because it has the 8-speed PDK. Now, you guys know the PDK is one of the all-time greatest transmissions ever produced. Now, if you're looking to buy a Porsche Panamera Turbo, especially a used one, I would highly encourage you to get the Porsche PDLS headlights. These give you those 4 LED lights here. They're a really nice upgrade. They are a premium upgrade, but they give it an excellent road presence when you're driving at night. Now, another thing to be mindful of is try to find one with the sport package. This has the 21-inch wheels. I really like these wheels. They're good looking. It has 275 front tires and 315 rear tires, guys. 315 on a sedan, right? And that's something you'll find on a 350R Shelby, not an everyday 4-door luxury sedan. So these are definitely going to be expensive tires, so make sure you look at the tires before you buy them and see if they have some good life left. Now, this does not have the PCCBs, the Porsche carbon ceramic brakes. Those are usually yellow, although you can get them in black these days. But these are the sport brakes. For most of the daily driving that you're going to do, you're actually going to like these brakes more. They don't require any warm-up cycles or warm-up time to be bitey. They're also not quite, like, I will tell you, when I review most of the PCC brakes, they're either squeak a lot, especially on cool days, and or they're so bitey that if you're not careful with the brake pedal, you oftentimes will bruise your passenger and surprise yourself. It's just one thing to be mindful of. So if you're really not planning on taking your Panamera to the track, I'd probably actually stick with the steel brakes. And I also like the way the red calipers look. Another thing that I would encourage you to get, guys, is get the adaptive sport seats. These are the 14-way seats. They're very comfortable, but the sport seats are a really nice upgrade in this car. And if you're interested to know how much leg room you have in the back here, you know, I'm 6 feet tall, definitely not a small guy. And I can tell you, if you've got adults and you're gonna go out for dinner, they can be more than comfortable back here. I've got about 2.5 inches of headroom back here. So even though they've restyled this car and they've really sloped it, in the end of the day, I've got plenty of creature comforts back here and plenty of space. I've got about 2 inches to the seat here, even though the seat's pretty far back. I've got heated controls. I've got, you know, USB back here. I've got everything I need to keep my kids happy or to take a nice long drive to Nashville for dinner. So guys, even though this is a supercar in so many ways, right, and we're talking 0 to 60 in the low 3s, you still get an incredibly practical rear space here. I'm talking about the ability to lay down the seats, and look how much space you have. It's still a hatchback. So it's got an incredible amount of space here. I mean, this is bigger than most trucks. So you can get so much space with this vehicle. One of the elephants in the room, if you're watching this video, is this has a wrap on it. So you'll actually notice that the door jambs have not been completed, but this car is black metallic. So in a lot of ways, you wouldn't even really notice it. That's the best part about buying a black car. If you do want to wrap it, you oftentimes can get away with not doing the door jambs because people just think it's part of the car and the way it always was. But this is a really nice wrap. It's professionally done. This is actually protecting the paint. If you were to buy this car, you could peel the wrap off and you just have a beautiful black car underneath. You could then paint correct it, and in many ways, this thing would look brand freaking new.
Guys, we're in the Panamera Turbo here. Now this is Le Mans style, like most Porsches. Put your foot on the brake. Turns on. Nice throaty V8 startup. Absolutely love it. I'm going to start off here with the windows down just for a minute so you can kind of experience what this car sounds like. Oh. We got this Jeep here who wants to go, so we'll let him. Let's turn the air down a little bit. Cool. So you can hear the turbo spool just a little tiny bit, and a little bit of the air intake. We're in sport mode right now. The car's lowered, but I gotta say, it's still not beating you up. So that's sport mode, and then that's sport plus. So this is gonna go ahead and kick it down. I'm gonna start off here on this road, just putting it in normal mode. This is gonna raise the suspension up a little bit. This does have that air suspension. And overall, it's just a really, really, really comfortable daily driver, guys. Like, you're gonna love driving this car every single day. So now as we come on to the road here, it just feels like a Porsche. There's something about these cars, and they just rock. There's such a good time. There's such a good experience. The way they feel, the way they drive, the way they handle the acceleration, they just feel like really well put together cars. Now, even though this is 4,600 pounds, it moves way better than it should. I mean, Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, that's got some performance, guys. I'm telling you, if you're a good driver, there are few cars that are going to be able to keep up with a Porsche Panamera Turbo, okay? I mean, it is just that much performance and power. And because it's all-wheel drive, you know, because it's got the incredible Porsche engineering, technology, it is such a good time. And it's so much fun to drive. I mean, look at the way it shifts. In automatic mode, the 8-speed PDK is world class. These transmissions are so darn good. They're comfortable to daily drive, but at the same time, if you want to put it in sport mode and you want to, you know, shift it yourself, it's a really good time. The 8-speed PDKs in these are, I think, some of the best transmissions man has ever made. I say that every single time I get out of a Porsche. In fact, the Porsche PDK, if I were to spec a 911 or I were to spec a Cayman, I would actually spec mine in PDK and not manual. I know in every other manufacturer, I would say the complete opposite. If I was gonna get a Mustang or I was gonna get a Miata or anything else, I would absolutely get the 6-speed. But in this particular brand, because the PDK is so good, you know, it just never cuts power when you shift. So as you gas it, right, it never cuts power. It just goes. And so it never feels like, in a lot of ways, guys, it drives like an electric car, you know, where it just feels like instant performance, instant torque, and it just never lets off until you let off the gas pedal. And it's such a cool sensation, especially in some of their higher end performance cars like the GT3s. But in this car, I'm telling you, you get the perfect mix of luxury and performance. I mean, driving around these turns, you feel the weight of the car, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's 4,600 pounds, but it just punches so far above its weight class in performance. It shocks me what this car can do. It really does. And I have no negatives in the driving experience. And I think if you're a passenger in this car and you just want to baby it, it's luxury, but at the same time, if you want to have some fun on the back roads, you can just absolutely nail it and truly have a good time. And you know, how many four-door sedans get that right? I mean, this is right up there with the E-Class, right up there with the the BMW M-Class, the 5 Series, the 6 Series, etc. In a lot of ways, I actually think this is still a slightly better driving experience because of that 8-speed PDK transmission. If you want to put it in manual, guys, you just literally slide that over to the left, and then you've got this incredibly fast shifting 6-speed. I mean, look at that. I'm going through the gears right now. First of all, you don't even know that they change gears. There is no sensation of clunking or anything. So if you want to downshift, that's 4th, 3rd, turbo immediately spools up. There's virtually no lag. I mean, good Lord. It's 90 miles an hour like nothing, and I'm not even putting more than 50% throttle down. The amount of performance this car has, it's just unbelievable. I swear to God, it's underrated. It feels way more than 568 foot-pounds of torque. You know, it's just so well engineered. Porsche is so damn good at everything they do. You know, and that's the reason why I think they're the most successful luxury car brand in the world and have been. They're the most profitable brand. It's just because they're so darn good at what they do. They've gotten the 911 so good. They've gotten the Cayman so good. And this Panamera, guys, is a true testament to all the other things they do right. They've combined them here. Really, the only negative is that it's just a heavy car. But at the same time, it's a luxury car, right? I mean, it's got 4 seats. It's got creature comforts. So, but yet, at the same time, we're going to launch it here in a minute. You've got all the performance in the world. Like, truly a do-all car. All right, guys, so I showed you what it was like in normal mode. Let's go ahead and turn this dial here to Sport Plus now. I'm going to put it in manual mode, and I'm going to take it down some of my all-time favorite roads. Now, first of all, listen to this. You hear that exhaust? It still sounds a little subdued in the cockpit, but in the end of the day, it's still a really good sounding exhaust, especially from the outside. It sounds like an incredible, wonderful V8. And look how it just destroys these turds. Ugh, so good. It's so capable. I'm blown away every time I get in this car how good it is. I remember when we were at the track at NCM, and I was like, this is incredible. I mean, we were coming down the straight hitting 135, 140 miles an hour. I mean, for a 4-door sedan, it's just unbelievable what this thing can do. It's so damn capable. And it's just fun. It's fun to flick. It's fun to drive. You know, you're going to melt some tires down, that's for sure, because the car's heavy, but in the end of the day, that's a trade-off. But in Sport Plus, guys, it really, really feels good. It tightens up the suspension, lowers the car, tightens up the steering, throttle response. Oh, get a little tiny backfire when you downshift. I mean, honestly, this car is so fast, it's kind of like the 911 Turbo, that it's pretty much too much for the street. I mean, very, very few roads you can do what I'm doing right now, right? Which is just cooking it. I mean, you know, you put your foot all the way to the floor. I mean, you're going to be hitting 100 real quick, as you just saw. The steel brakes are fantastic. I know a lot of the reviewers will say, get the PCCBs. I'm like, yeah, the PCCBs are good, but at the end of the day, they're bitey, they're squeaky. Now, you do get less brake dust. That's definitely a positive, but these steel brakes are more than capable. I mean, I've had this car once on a track, and, you know, they didn't fade, and in a lot of ways, they're going to be more than adequate for anything you need. I mean, it just drives like a sports car. It's truly amazing. And it's fun. I have really no negatives on the driving experience with this particular car. It's such a good time. You know, taking it on these back roads, you can just really enjoy yourself. And it feels comfortable, it feels safe. You never really feel like it's getting out of shape or squirrely on you. And that's a big feature of having the all-wheel drive. You know, the other thing I want to mention, guys, is this has the Porsche build quality. You know, even though we're in Sport Plus, even though that I'm having a good time driving around these turns, there's no rattling in the car. They're just built so damn well. You know, I wish other manufacturers could do what Porsche does. You know, you get into a Tesla, you get into any other manufacturers, and yeah, the BMW is good, but it still rattles, right? The Mercedes is good, but it still rattles a little bit. The Audis are the closest one that I really feel like dial in the interior quality at the same level as Porsche. But most other manufacturers, you're going to just come out of a Porsche and then, you know, get into one of those and you're like, oh man, it just doesn't have that same pedigree, that same build quality. And it's definitely something to take a note of, and that's one of the reasons why these cars are so expensive, is because they really put a lot of time and attention into dialing in all of the interior so that the exterior and the interior, the quality is just second to really none. All right, guys, I wanted to cover some of the things that the instrument cluster on this new version of the 971 version here. So you've got the ability to have all kinds of adjustment here. So you've got your analog tack, which I absolutely love. You know I'm a sucker for analog gauges. You also have kind of an electric readout here of your speed, but that always stays consistent. This whole right side, though, you can adjust. So you have TPS monitor there. You've also got a clock. You've got vehicle, so you can see temperature, oil, battery, all that. You've also got here, you know, your typical drive settings, drive time, etc. You've got a nice 3D map here. And you've also got the ability to do your Sport Chrono. This does have the Sport Chrono package on it. And then you've even got a G-force meter. So if you're ever going to have some fun, you can see the G-forces as you make turns. Again, really modern. You get all the old school with the analog gauges, but then you still get the same modern TFT screens. It's just such a good mix in this car, in my personal opinion, of old school technology and new school technology. And everything just has a nice tactile feedback to it, guys. When you're turning this knob, it's metal. The steering wheel feels great. The touch controls have haptic feedback. The shifter feels high quality. I mean, I'm telling you, these feel like they're $170,000 cars, right? And they don't cheap out in any way. The Alcantara here in the roof, the overall metal trim here is nice. It's real. There's just everything about the interior of this car streams quality and luxury, and you're really going to enjoy spending time in the cockpit. You know, I was just talking to Mark, guys, and he's never used the cooled seats in this car. I'm like, well, bro, like, you've got to use the cooled seats. I mean, it's air-conditioned air that blows on your tuchus. I mean, when it's 95 degrees like today. And let me just also say something, guys. You know, the fact that we just smashed this car and launched it and been having a good time in it, and it's so hot and humid today, I mean, if this doesn't have a problem on a day like today, these cars, it just gives you a really good indication that they're very well built, very reliable. There's this little button right here, guys, that is called, well, I'm not really actually sure what it's called, so let's get on the highway here and I'll tell you. So now that we're on, so I just hit the button, guys, for sport response. And let me tell you, when you hit that button, it gives you full bean mode. It doesn't matter what mode you're in either, right? So you could be in normal mode, and let's say you need to overtake that dump truck. You hit that little button, and for 20 seconds, you get Sport Plus, full beans, full turbo, full performance, and man, is it fun. And it's so cool to have that feature. So that button right there is a game changer. And it's kind of fun, you know, you could be out with your passengers and somebody's coming up on you and they're being a real you know what. You just hit that button and you are gone. And let me tell you, there's very, very few cars that are going to be able to keep up with you. And again, it's just such a fun, cool feature to have. So not only can you change the modes really easily just from this rotating dial, but that little button there is a really fun little party trick that I think for any car enthusiast of the world, you're sure going to enjoy. All right, guys, the last thing I want to demonstrate on this car is it has a lot of technology built into it. So you have lane keep and whatnot. Now, it will not self-drive, but if you want to go ahead and Distronic cruise, you hit that button right there, you go ahead and lock it into gear, and then you can adjust the cruise control. You can adjust how far it stays to somebody's rear end. that is a really, really nice feature to have. Obviously, if you're upgrading from an older car that doesn't feature that. I love Distronic Cruise. You know, it'll slow you all the way down to a stop in traffic. And it's just a really nice feature to have, I gotta say. Oh, looks like this guy wants to pass. So yeah, I mean, again, for the daily driver category, I just don't think there's many cars that are gonna check more boxes than this thing, guys. I'll be honest with you. I really love it. I think it just punches way above its weight class, especially now that you can pick these up for such a depreciated amount. I mean, you got heated and cooled seats, right? You got Distronic Cruise, you got an incredible performance package, all-wheel drive, tons of performance. You got launch mode, as we demonstrated. You just got everything that I think makes for an incredible enthusiast daily driver. And now that these things have depreciated so much, I just don't think there's a better value on the market. So I hope you enjoyed the POV drive, and we'll get into the conclusion here, and we'll call this one a day. Well, guys, this is Mark, the owner. I wanted to bring him on. It's always fun to get your take, man. Thanks so much for being here and showing us this incredibly cool car. So, were you always a Porsche fan?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've liked Porsches. This is my first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually.
Not a bad one for your first car.
Not a bad one, yeah.
Now, you're the second owner, correct?
Yes.
So, you're going to lose some money on this, but you saved a ton off of getting an original one, right?
Saved a ton. Bought it about a year ago. Paid about $88 for it.
Okay. With how many miles?
Oh gosh, I've maybe put 10,000 miles on it.
So you're
15.
talking what, high 20s, low 30,000 mile range?
It was maybe mid 30s, or maybe yeah, 30,000, something like that.
Boy, wouldn't want to be that first owner, huh, guys? I mean, 170 car plus tax. I mean, you know, to sell it for 85 or 80, whatever he gave to the dealership for, unbelievable, right? Yeah. So these things really do depreciate, but that's a fantastic bargain now, you'd have to say. Yeah. Now, has the car given you any problems?
Not a one.
Not one.
It's been great. It's very reliable. You know, a lot of performance. It's very low, heavy, wide, so performs well in inclement weather. You know, if you got rain, so it's all-wheel drive. So you really you don't feel like the back end's going to get out from you, get loose, because that front's going to pull you through. And like I said, we've had it on the track.
Just one time,
just one time, only one time.
Mostly for fun.
Mostly for fun. So, but just wanted to see, and they did say, look, this may be the first time we've had a sedan out here, which is kind of cool. I really, really like not only the new profile that's low, because you have the suspension that you can adjust. You have the air suspension, but you can put it in sport mode or sport plus. Yep. And it's just going to sink down. And but then you've got the spoiler that comes out, kind of like a little transformer action, which is cool. You just kind of ride along, and all of a sudden,
yep, it is a really cool little
it's kind of cool
parting trick.
So
and it does come up at 60 miles an hour, yeah?
Yeah, it comes up at 60 miles an hour automatically, and so it's a pretty cool little feature.
Cool. All right, guys, now this is a video where this car is actually for sale. A lot of the cars that I do feature are for sale. So Mark, what are you going to let this go for today if somebody's interested?
I'm thinking the 72 range is about where we're at. Yeah.
I mean, guys, that's less than 45% of the original value, like I said earlier. I think it's like 42 or 43%. And I'm talking a $168,000 car with what? How many miles?
41.
41 with no issues. I mean, come on. So you're probably still going to lose money, especially if you put miles on the car. But instead of losing $2,500 or $3,000 a month like the original owner did, you're going to lose a couple $100. Yeah. I mean, is this what is a 4-liter twin turbo V8 that looks this good going to be worth in a few years? 50, 55, 60? I don't see it being less than 50. I mean, that's so much damn car for 50 grand, right?
It's a lot of car, and I think that's what you really get with a Panamera. I had researched it for a long time, and I originally kind of thought I wanted that first series, but something about it was not quite right, and turns out, it was the back end. And then Porsche listened, I think, to the fans, and they said, look, we're gonna make this right, and they did. And that was where I really, that 17 and above is where guys, I'm just like you. I'm not a new car buyer necessarily, so when I got into it, I said, all right, what can I get the best value? And so it was that first year with that new body style in 17. Now all of a sudden you got the new body style, and then someone had wrapped it before me. I didn't do the wrap, but I thought, hey, I was attracted to that. It's very cool. The cool thing about it, I've had a lot of black cars through the years, and as you know, they're very hard to keep clean. They're the best when they look great, but it's the worst when you get like a little bit of rain. Now you got some rain spots. With this thing, I mean, you run it through a car wash, literally, you're not, you know, it can be touchless. It can actually even be the brush over at Costco, whatever. Run it through real quick and, you know, get out, hop out, wipe out your wheels. You're done with the car. I mean,
yeah, because you don't really have to worry about it. Well, if you made it this far into the video, guys, really appreciate you watching. Subscribe. We've got hundreds of reviews on the channel, content just like this. Let me just sum it up, and I really did hope you enjoyed the POV drive we did. I tried to explain what it's like from my point of view to, you know, drive and enjoy the car. For $72,000, I don't know if you're going to find more car for the money. I can't think of many cars out there. Now, obviously, it's not an electric car, but the guy who buys this is more of an enthusiast. So this is a perfect car for somebody who already has a Cayman or already has a 911, who already has a race car, right? They can get a really good daily driver that's probably going to hold its value very well for the next several years. You're still going to lose money because you're going to be putting miles on it. But at the end of the day, you're going to lose money on damn near any car you buy. So you might as well get something you actually like. And for the value, even with interest rates that are 8, 9, 10%, you can probably get this car for about $1,200 a month, no problem, with a 72-month finance note. That's a lot of car for $1,200, guys. Keep in mind, the original owner spent $2,500 a month if he financed this. And God help him if he paid cash, because he really lost his you-know-what. So in the end of the day, I think this is a great buy. That's why I wanted to feature it today. Really appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the content, like, drop a comment below, and we will catch you on the next one.